follow you.
What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in back to my review for the Terror Infamy. I'm a little bit late with this one, but still, I want to review it. This is for episode 2. Tell me in the comments below if you liked this week's episode and if you're going to keep on watching it. And remember to click on the subscribe button and the bell in order to hear any more content from me. So we're only into the second episode, and we're already seeing a definitive parallel between the terror and the supernatural and the terror within humanity. And I think that's the one thing that I really like about the show, is that the term terror can possess more than one meaning. Here we have the Japanese Americans and what they're going through as the episode opens up with the evacuation of the camps. And they were stationed at for a brief time from what it looks like a unsanitary horse stables once they left those camps, and eventually they move out of there, and that's how this episode concludes, with our main characters being taken to a war relocation center, with the last shot being of the American flag. But this, along with Japanese men being tortured and Japanese children being taken away, is as a whole the nightmare of a world that these people have to endure. Nonetheless, these camps, separation of children, and so on and so forth, are almost a reflection of the way the world we live in today with immigration. Whether that was done on purpose or not, it's really interesting to see that a factually inspired event is somewhat mirroring our present time. And then we have our main characters, Chester and his family, which are dealing with both personal problems and also being suspected of being spies from some of them. And while this is all happening, we still have that supernatural element within the storyline, but it's still somewhat in the background. And going to Chester real quick, you have the chemistry between himself and Luz, which is somewhat present, but it's still going to take me some time to grasp the fact that they're really in love. I'm just not convinced yet, though she was willing to go with him to the camps because she found out she was pregnant with his child. And I did really like, though, the sequence of when they're both hiding away at the professor's house. It was just really satisfying to know there was someone else that was willing to help these two. It's like he understood, the professor, where these two were coming from. Chester's father, though, has a very fascinating sequence within this episode as he's being suspected of being a spy. During this time, he's tested to see if he's a spy, and this leads him to my favorite sequence when one of the soldiers tells him to pretty much goes ice fishing to prove that he's an actual fisherman and not a spy. It's a very dark scene in regards to what's happening, but I just love how this scene is shot with its wide angles and its bluish tints in the sky and the ice. It was just very satisfying to watch. And this is also where we get a big bulk of the supernatural end of the storyline in this episode. We're introduced to something known as the Kimono, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And some of this I'm still a little confused by, but from what I gathered, it seems like this is the kind of spirit that changes form and possesses one to commit suicide, as we've already seen in this episode and in the premiere. And it seems to take the presence mostly of a woman named Yoko, which we have seen several times in both episodes. And Chester's father also seems to be accusing one of the Japanese men at the camps named Nick to be the spirit as well, which eventually leads them to confront him and confess that he is one as they bang away on the ice, which is also a very dark scene from what's happening, but still just a beautiful atmosphere with the ice and the background of the sky. So far, I think that the practical side of the story is a bit more straightforward than it is for the supernatural side. And that makes sense. The supernatural part of it should be a bit more mysterious as we move along through the season. This is the kind of thing that happened in season 1, though, with us barely seeing this monster and not knowing much about it, yet we fully understood the characters and what they were facing. So that's why we get a feel of their emotions and what they're dealing with. But I still like what I'm seeing within the storyline as well as the visuals. We actually get to see San Francisco in this episode for a little bit, and it's just really cool to see that era and how they recreated it. In the end, it's just all about the characters, though, and what trials they are facing in their lives. But those were just my quick thoughts on this episode. Once again, I apologize for being a little late on this one. I just have more than I thought planned for this week. Next week, I'll try to have it as late as Tuesday night, but I apologize once again. But I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on this. Don't forget to leave your comments below on what you thought about this episode. Don't forget to consider subscribing to my channel to hear more regarding TV shows, movies, and theme parks. You all are awesome. You have a great day.